Across the galaxy, every traveler knew the rules of safe space travel. There were lists of planets to visit, planets to avoid, and planets marked in red, forbidden worlds. Among those, one small blue world had the most unusual note in the Galactic Travel Advisory. It read, "Earth, warning, extreme gravity levels. Prolonged exposure will cause permanent skeletal damage to non-human species." Most aliens laughed when they saw that. A simple gravity warning? Ridiculous. They had visited black holes, walked on neutron moons, and crossed plasma storms. How could a small planet with primitive humans be dangerous? The message was considered more myth than science, a running joke in the space forums. "Beware Earth's gravity," they teased. "It will break your bones." No one believed it, until a crew from the planet Vornax decided to find out the truth. The Vornaxians were explorers, known across systems for their arrogance and curiosity. They were tall and thin, with hollow bones and light, flexible muscles, built perfectly for low-gravity worlds. Captain Reiner, the mission leader, was one of the best pilots in the galactic fleet. When the travel advisory was updated again with a more serious tone, severe biological hazard. No landings authorized. He only laughed. "How dangerous can gravity be?" he said to his crew. "We have advanced suits, exosupports, and adaptive stabilizers. Earth will be just another rock under our boots." His crew of 6 shared his confidence. They wanted fame. They wanted to prove the Galactic Council wrong. If they could land on Earth, walk its surface, and return safely, they would become legends. Their ship, the Vorn Star, was built for deep exploration. It was equipped with environmental regulators, magnetic shields, and multi-layered hull armor. As they approached the solar system, the onboard AI issued a calm warning, "Entering restricted zone. Planet Earth designated hazardous. Adjusting gravitational dampeners." Reiner smirked. "Ignore it. Let's see what this planet really is." The others laughed, their excitement rising. The stars around them dimmed as the ship entered orbit. Through the viewport, Earth appeared, blue oceans, white clouds, green continents. It looked peaceful, harmless even. "Beautiful," whispered Lerna, the ship's biologist. "This world looks alive." Reiner nodded. "Alive and weak. Let's prove the galaxy wrong." They prepared for descent. The AI gave one last alert, "Warning. Surface gravity exceeds safe tolerance for Vornaxian physiology. Recommend abort." Reiner cut the warning. Descent confirmed. The ship's thrusters ignited, and they began falling through the thick atmosphere. Flames danced across the hull as they entered Earth's sky. The ship rattled, heavier than expected. Inside, the crew exchanged uneasy glances. "Captain," said the engineer, "I am reading gravitational pressure increasing faster than our stabilizers can handle." "Compensate manually," Reiner ordered. "I already am. But the force is unnatural. It's almost pulling the ship down." "Relax," Reiner said, forcing a smile. "It's just denser air. Earth's gravity is nothing we can't handle." But deep down, something felt wrong. The ship landed in a quiet valley surrounded by mountains and forests. The Earth air shimmered with sunlight. Birds flew overhead. Everything seemed calm. As the landing ramp opened, a heavy silence filled the ship. "All right," Reiner said. "Helmets on. Let's make history." The first to step out was Lerna. Her boots hit the ground, and she nearly fell forward. "Captain, the ground is pulling me," she gasped. Reiner stepped out next. The moment his boots touched the soil, a strange pressure filled his chest. His limbs felt heavy, his spine strained. He frowned, adjusting his gravity belt. "Increase stabilizers to 50%. They did. It helped, but not enough. The air felt thick, like walking underwater. Every step was effort. Within minutes, sweat formed under their suits. Even speaking took energy. "Captain, this can't be right," said the medic, Drell. "Our muscles feel like lead." "My bones," He winced, clutching his leg. It hurts to move. The engineer checked his scanner. Gravitational field reading, 2.7 times Vornak's standard. It's crushing us. Reiner refused to show fear. Hold formation. Keep moving. But inside, panic began to grow. The warning hadn't been a joke, it was real. Lerna stumbled, falling to her knees. Her equipment clattered beside her. I can't stand, Captain. My bones, they ache. Reiner reached out to help, but even lifting his arm felt impossible. The suit's exoframe groaned under the pressure. The crew's breathing turned labored. Their elegant bodies, made for light worlds, were being punished by the invisible hand of Earth's gravity. The captain ordered a retreat. Back to the ship. But when they turned, the ramp looked miles away. Every step forward felt like dragging a mountain. One by one, they stumbled. We just need to adjust the field dampeners, the engineer gasped. Once inside, we can recalibrate. But even reaching the ship was becoming a battle. The sound of bones creaking filled the comm channel. The medic screamed as his leg buckled beneath him. It's broken. My leg is broken. Reiner's heart raced. He forced himself to stand straight, ignoring the pain. Move, he shouted. Don't let gravity beat you. But the world itself seemed to mock them. The pull grew stronger, deeper, as if the planet didn't want them to leave. Inside their suits, alarms flashed red: muscle failure, bone compression, oxygen strain. And above them, from the dark clouds, thunder rolled. A storm was coming. Lerna looked up weakly and whispered, Maybe, this planet doesn't want us here. The captain said nothing. His pride was fading, replaced by fear. The crew had come to prove a point, but the point was proving them wrong. The advisory's words echoed in his mind like a ghostly voice: Earth gravity will permanently damage your skeleton. They had laughed before. Now, not one of them was laughing. Inside the ship, systems flickered as if the world's pull reached into the metal itself. The AI spoke again, voice distorted by interference. Warning, gravity field unstable, recommend immediate departure. But Reiner and his crew couldn't even make it back inside. Their bodies trembled under the crushing weight, their legs shaking. One wrong step, and they would collapse entirely. Reiner looked toward the horizon, where the blue sky met endless forest. It looked peaceful, beautiful even, but now he understood why no alien stayed here. The beauty of Earth hid something terrible, something that no machine or suit could resist. He realized too late that the warning wasn't just about gravity. It was about the planet itself. And as his crew struggled to stand, gasping for air that felt too heavy to breathe, the first bone snapped. A single, sharp crack echoed through the valley, then silence. Reiner's voice broke through the calm: return to the ship. But no one moved. They all felt it now, the power of Earth. Not through violence, not through weapons, but through weight, pressure, and pain. The warning had been right. They had ignored it. And now, gravity was teaching them why no one should ever come here. The Vornaxian crew stood at the edge of exhaustion, each breath heavy, each step a struggle. The air around them was thick and wet, far denser than the thin atmosphere of their home world. What had begun as a proud scientific mission was now turning into a desperate test of endurance. Captain Reiner tried to keep his posture straight, but even his reinforced exosuit bent slightly under the pressure. The ground beneath his boots seemed alive, pulling at him, refusing to let go. The silence of the valley was broken only by the faint hum of their ship's engines and the harsh sound of labored breathing over the comm channel. The medic, Drell, knelt beside Lerna, who was still unable to stand. Her bones might be fracturing, Drell whispered. His scanners showed internal stress points in red. Another few minutes in this gravity, and her skeleton will collapse. Reiner clenched his jaw. We didn't come this far to turn back. We will adapt. The suits can handle this. He said it with confidence, but inside, fear gnawed at him. His own knees felt like they were on fire. The ship sensors were right. Earth's gravity was nearly 3 times what their bodies were designed to withstand. Reiner gave the command to start collecting samples. They needed proof of their mission. If they returned empty-handed, the galaxy would laugh at them. The engineer, Keln, staggered toward the edge of a nearby hill to deploy a soil collector. Every movement was slow and deliberate, like moving through a pool of thick oil. The air pressed against their chests, each breath felt like dragging weight into their lungs. Keln activated his device, which began to drill into the rocky surface. "Soil composition stable," he said through gritted teeth. "But there's a magnetic distortion here." Reiner raised an eyebrow. "From what?" "Unknown. The readings are unstable. This planet's magnetic field is unusually strong." Another beep interrupted them. Lerna's biomonitor showed an increase in heart rate and bone stress. "Captain," Drell said urgently, "we need to return to orbit. Her vitals are collapsing." "No," Reiner replied firmly. "Not yet. One more scan, then we go." The moment stretched into painful silence as the crew continued their work. Reiner turned his helmet camera toward the sky. The clouds were forming strange circular patterns above them. He had never seen a planet's weather move this fast. A rumble of thunder rolled across the valley. "We should leave," said Keln, his voice trembling. "The atmosphere is unstable. The pressure's increasing." Reiner ignored him and took a step forward, forcing his body to move despite the pain. "Record this," he ordered the AI drone hovering nearby. "First contact with Earth. Planet rich in oxygen, strong magnetic interference, and gravity that—" He paused mid-sentence as another jolt of pain ran through his legs. "That challenges every law of physics we know." Drell looked around nervously. "Captain, look at this vegetation. The plants are thick, their roots go deep. Even the insects here are dense and muscular. Everything on this planet is built for strength." Lerna, still lying on the ground, whispered weakly, "This world isn't weak. It's powerful." Reiner didn't respond. His pride wouldn't let him admit it, but she was right. This planet was different. The ground itself resisted them, the air demanded effort, and even their technology seemed to be struggling under invisible strain. The ship systems reported high energy drain. Gravity wasn't just pulling on their bodies, it was pulling on everything they had brought with them. Suddenly, Keln shouted, "Captain! Movement at 10 degrees north." Everyone turned, straining to look through the mist. Something was moving along the tree line. For a moment, Reiner thought it was an animal. But then the scanners picked up a heat signature. Multiple, in fact. "It's not human," Drell said quickly. "Too small, too fast." The creatures moved closer, curious but cautious. They looked like quadrupeds, wolves, perhaps. Their eyes reflected light like tiny mirrors. One of them let out a low growl that echoed through the valley. The Vornaxians froze. None of them had encountered wildlife under such extreme gravity before. "Don't engage," Reiner ordered quietly. "Observe only." The animals sniffed the air, confused by the alien scent, and then slowly retreated into the forest. The tension lingered long after they were gone. "This planet's ecosystem is built to survive constant pressure," Lerna murmured. "Even predators have stronger muscles. Everything here has adapted to gravity as if it were training." Her words hung in the air like prophecy. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. The realization was growing. Earth wasn't just another planet. It was a crucible of evolution. Every living thing here was shaped by the same invisible force now crushing their bones. A sudden alarm blared from the ship. "Energy drain critical," the AI announced. "Systems will shut down in 5 minutes if crew does not return." Reiner turned to his team. "We're done here. Back to the ship." Keln deactivated his tools and staggered back, his movements clumsy and slow. The others followed, half crawling, half stumbling. Lerna was too weak to walk, so Drell and Keln tried to carry her, but her light bones bent unnaturally under their grip. She screamed as a sharp crack echoed through the suit. "My ribs!" she cried. Drell panicked. Captain, she can't survive this. Reiner hesitated for a moment, then made the hardest decision of his life. Leave the samples. Drop everything. We get her inside now. Each step back to the ship felt longer than the last. The ramp looked like it was miles away, even though it was only a few dozen meters. The heavier they became, the slower they moved. The air seemed to push them back. Sweat poured down their faces inside their helmets, blurring their vision. The gravity's increasing, Keln gasped. It's like the planet knows we're trying to leave. The sky darkened, thunder cracked again, and the ground trembled slightly, as if the world itself was breathing. They finally reached the ramp, collapsing one by one as they crossed into the ship. The door sealed behind them with a hiss. Inside, the artificial gravity stabilizers tried to equalize pressure, but the systems flickered. Captain, we need to leave orbit now, the AI urged. Engines at 70% capacity. Reiner looked at his crew, broken, trembling, barely conscious. He wanted to lift off immediately, but guilt stopped him. He turned to Lerna, whose breathing had grown shallow. Hold on, he said softly. Her lips barely moved. Captain, Earth doesn't want us here. Then her vitals flatlined. The silence that followed was unbearable. No one spoke. Outside, lightning danced across the valley, lighting up the outline of their ship. In that flash, Reiner understood something terrible. The planet wasn't just dangerous. It was alive, in its own way. It was testing them, weighing them, deciding if they belonged. And so far, the answer was no. He closed Lerna's visor gently, his voice shaking. Prepare for takeoff. But before he could finish, another alarm rang out. Warning, engine failure detected. Gravity interference at maximum threshold. The crew looked at each other in horror. The ship was trapped. Earth's invisible hand had tightened its grip. And now, escape would be far harder than landing. Inside the ship, the air was heavy with fear. Every system flickered, every breath felt heavier than before. The gravity stabilizers groaned as if they were fighting a losing war. Captain Reiner gripped the control panel tightly, his knuckles pale beneath his gloves. The once smooth hum of the Vorn Star's engines was replaced by a harsh vibration that rattled through the floor. Report, he demanded, his voice trembling despite his effort to sound calm. The engineer, Keln, struggled to keep his balance while reading the diagnostics. Gravitational interference increasing beyond predicted range. The dampeners are overloading. Reiner frowned. Overloading. They're designed for 5 times our home gravity. Keln shook his head. Captain, this planet isn't stable. Its gravity fluctuates like it's alive. I've never seen anything like it. Drell, the medic, knelt beside Lerna's body. Her suit was cracked where her ribs had collapsed. Her skin was pale, her breathing gone. He looked up slowly, his voice breaking. She's gone, Captain. For a long moment, no one spoke. The sound of the ship creaking filled the silence. Outside, thunder rolled again, and rain began to fall in thick, heavy drops that hit the ship like stones. Reiner closed his eyes. The mission was supposed to be a triumph, a moment of glory. Now it was a disaster. He thought of the Galactic Council, of their laughter when they heard the warning. He had laughed too. He had mocked the message, believing himself stronger, smarter. Now, with one of his crew dead and the rest barely standing, that arrogance felt like poison. Activate internal gravity lock, he ordered finally. We need to stabilize the environment before we lose another one. Keln obeyed, fingers shaking as he entered commands. The ship rumbled as the locks engaged, but the results were minor. The pressure inside only lessened slightly. Their bodies still felt like they were sinking under invisible waves. This planet is killing us slowly, Keln whispered. Every second we stay, our bones weaken. Reiner ignored the comment and focused on the data screen. The atmospheric readings were strange. Earth's gravity field wasn't just stronger, it pulsed like a living heartbeat. There's something wrong here, he murmured. Gravity doesn't behave like this. It shouldn't move. It shouldn't breathe. The AI responded in its calm, emotionless voice. Gravitational fluctuations detected at irregular intervals. Estimated survival time for crew under current pressure, 3 hours, 17 minutes. Drell slammed his fist against the console. 3 hours? We'll be crushed before that. Reiner turned toward him, his expression hard. Then we leave before that. Prepare the ship for takeoff. The crew moved sluggishly, every movement costing them effort. Kelm tried to restart the engines, but the ignition sequence failed. The thrust stabilizers are offline, he said, panic in his voice. The ship can't lift under this pressure. It's like we're glued to the ground. Reiner stared out the viewport. The storm outside was growing stronger. Trees bent under the wind, and lightning danced across the mountains. For a second, he thought he saw shapes moving in the rain, figures watching them from the shadows. But when he blinked, they were gone. We're not alone here, he muttered. Drell looked up sharply. What do you mean? Something is watching, Reiner said. The planet, the animals, maybe even the humans. I don't know. But this doesn't feel natural. Kelm interrupted with another alarm. Captain, internal pressure is increasing. The hull can't hold much longer. Reiner clenched his fists. Then reduce systems power. Divert everything to the engines. The ship dimmed as lights flickered off, leaving only emergency illumination. A low hum filled the air. They could feel the engines trying to fight the planet's pull. The ship lifted slightly, just a few inches, then crashed back down with a loud metallic thud. The impact threw Drell to the ground. We're not going anywhere, Kelm said helplessly. Earth isn't letting us leave. Reiner slammed his fist against the console. There has to be a way. His voice echoed through the cabin. For a moment, the only reply was the sound of the storm outside. Then the AI spoke again. Captain, human radio frequencies detected within 100 kilometers. Military-grade signals. They are monitoring our position. The crew froze. Humans. Drell whispered. They know we're here? Affirmative, the AI replied. Reiner felt a chill run down his spine. Then they've seen everything. They've been watching us struggle like insects. He turned back to his crew. We need to send a message to orbit. If we can reach the relay satellite, maybe someone can pull us out. Kelm hesitated. At this gravity level, the signal may not penetrate the atmosphere. Try anyway, Reiner snapped. The ship's communication array buzzed to life, sending a weak pulse into the stormy sky. Static filled the cabin. This is Captain Reiner of the Vornax Exploration Unit. Emergency distress call from Earth surface. Request immediate extraction. Gravity interference has exceeded tolerance. We cannot sustain survival. They waited for a response, but only silence answered. The static hissed, then faded. No signal received, the AI confirmed. Reiner's shoulders slumped. We're trapped. Drell moved to a nearby window and peered outside. The rain had slowed, but the mist was thick. He could see faint movement at the edge of the clearing, something metallic reflecting light. Captain, I see something. Reiner joined him. Through the haze, they saw a small drone hovering in the distance. It was triangular, sleek, unmistakably human. They're studying us, Kelm whispered. They're letting us die so they can learn. Reiner's voice dropped to a growl. Maybe this is their warning. Maybe this is how they keep others away. The drone vanished as quickly as it appeared. The crew sat in silence, each of them realizing the same thing. The humans knew about the warning. They had probably written it. And now, they were watching it come true. Reiner's mind raced. If we can't leave, we survive. We find a way to adapt. Drell stared at him like he was insane. Adapt. Captain, our bodies are breaking. We're not built for this. Reiner met his gaze. Then we change. We use the suits. Increase internal supports, reinforce bones with the emergency exofield. That could crush our organs, Keln protested. Do it, Reiner shouted. One by one, they activated the exofield amplifiers. Their suits whined as mechanical braces extended along their limbs. The pressure on their bones lessened slightly, but the strain transferred to their muscles. Pain shot through their bodies, yet they could finally stand without falling. Reiner felt his spine crack into place as he stood tall again. We'll survive this, he said through gritted teeth. We're Vornaxians. We don't die on primitive worlds. But the planet seemed to hear his defiance. Another tremor rippled through the valley. The ground shook, and the ship tilted. A massive crack echoed as one of the landing struts snapped. The crew fell again, their helmets hitting the floor with a loud thud. Sparks burst from the ceiling. The AI's voice broke through the chaos. Structural damage detected. Hull integrity at 60%. Reiner lay on the floor, dazed. Through the viewport, lightning illuminated the storm, and in that flash, he saw human silhouettes on the ridge, faint but unmistakable. They were watching silently, unmoving. The captain's heart pounded. They're here, he whispered. High above the storm clouds, a human reconnaissance satellite silently orbited Earth, its sensors focused on the valley below. Inside a military command center deep underground, screens flickered to life. Technicians watched strange energy readings rise and fall around an unidentified object. The lead analyst leaned forward. Sir, we've confirmed it. The crash wasn't a meteor. It's artificial. General Marcus Hale, commander of Project Sentinel, stepped closer, his face calm but his eyes sharp. Open the visual feed, he ordered. The satellite camera zoomed in, revealing a sleek alien vessel half buried in the mud, its metallic surface glowing faintly blue under the rain. Around it, 7 lifeforms moved slowly, struggling as if gravity itself was an enemy. Marcus narrowed his eyes. Zoom closer. I want to see how they move. The camera focused on the figures. Their tall, thin frames bent unnaturally. One of them collapsed, unable to stand. Another crawled forward, dragging something behind. They're dying, whispered one technician. Look at them. They can't handle the gravity. Marcus crossed his arms. Then the warning was right. Earth doesn't need to defend itself. It defends us. The room fell silent for a moment as they watched the aliens fight to reach their ship. Sir, said the science officer, Dr. Evelyn Carter, if these are the same species that sent probes last year, they've ignored our previous transmissions. Marcus nodded. Then they'll learn the hard way. Evelyn frowned. Should we help them? They're not attacking. The general's tone was firm. No. We observe. That's the protocol. Earth doesn't reveal its hand unless necessary. He turned toward the display, where one of the aliens lay motionless on the ground. But record everything. The council will want proof. Meanwhile, back in the valley, the Vornaxians were unaware of the eyes watching them. Inside their ship, the lights flickered, and systems continued to fail. Captain Reiner struggled to send another distress signal, but the communications relay was completely dead. Outside, the storm began to fade, leaving behind a heavy silence broken only by the distant rumble of thunder. The survivors gathered near the main deck. Their bodies were bruised, their movements clumsy. We can't stay here, said Keln weakly. Our suits can't handle this pressure. Every second is breaking us. Reiner didn't answer immediately. He was staring at the external camera feed, which showed something strange in the distance, a faint shimmer of light, hovering just above the trees. What is that? He whispered. Drell leaned closer. It's moving. Slowly. Unseen by them, the light was a human surveillance drone. It emitted no sound, no heat. It was watching, recording every motion, every breath. The humans inside Project Sentinel analyzed the feed in real time. Their physiology is collapsing, Dr. Carter noted. Their bones can't support their own weight. It's like watching insects under a magnifying glass. Marcus said nothing. His gaze remained fixed on the screen. This is what happens when arrogance meets nature, he said finally. They thought they could conquer gravity. A younger officer, clearly disturbed, muttered, "Sir, they're suffering." Marcus replied coldly, "So did our ancestors when they learned to survive here. That's what makes us different." Back on Earth's surface, the alien captain tried to stand again. His legs trembled violently. "We came to learn," he said hoarsely, "and now we're being punished for it." His crew looked to him for orders, but he had none to give. Their ship's power reserves were nearly gone. The hull sensors showed fractures forming under the gravitational strain. The Vorn star was dying along with them. "Captain," Keln said suddenly. The external cameras picked up movement. Metallic. Reflective. "I think we're being watched." Reiner turned sharply. "By who?" "Unknown. It's not natural. The object hovers, maintains distance, and, wait, it's gone." The captain felt a chill crawl down his spine. He remembered the stories about humans, whispered in interstellar channels. Primitive but dangerous. Fragile but relentless. "They're here," he said softly. "They're watching us die." In the Project Sentinel command center, General Marcus leaned closer to the feed. One of the aliens was staring directly into the camera lens. "He knows," said Dr. Carter quietly. Marcus's lips tightened. "Let him know. Fear is a teacher too." He turned to the technicians. "Activate the atmospheric probe near their position. Let's see how they react." Moments later, a faint humming filled the valley as a small black sphere descended through the clouds. It stopped midair above the alien ship, projecting invisible waves of energy to scan the wreck. Inside the ship, alarms blared. "Captain!" Keln shouted. "Unknown drone detected. It's scanning us." Reiner looked up through the viewport and saw the small black object hovering like an eye. "They're here," he said again, this time with certainty. "Humans." The crew panicked. Drell reached for his weapon, but Reiner stopped him. "No. Don't fire. If they wanted to attack, we'd already be dead." They watched as the sphere slowly rose higher, then vanished into the clouds. Silence returned, broken only by the ship's weakening systems. "They're testing us," Reiner whispered. "Studying how long it takes before we break." He turned to the others. "And we're giving them a show." In the command center, the probe's data streamed in. Dr. Carter studied the biological readings with fascination. Their skeletal density is incredibly low. No wonder they can't survive here. They were never built for this kind of gravity. Marcus nodded. "Which means Earth is the perfect defense. No invasion fleet could survive on the surface for long." Another officer asked, "Should we prepare containment teams in case they attempt communication?" Marcus shook his head. "No. They won't last long enough." As night fell over the valley, the alien ship's interior grew colder. Power reserves were nearly empty, and their life support systems began to fail. The air grew heavy with moisture. Reiner sat near the main console, his breathing ragged. "If humans are watching," he said, "maybe they'll help us." Drell shook his head weakly. "No. They're waiting. They're making sure we die first." The captain stared at the flickering screens. "Then let's give them something to remember." He began recording a final log. "To any who receive this message," he said slowly, "we are the explorers of Vornax. We came to your world seeking knowledge. We were warned, but we ignored it. Now we understand. Earth is not a planet, it's a test. Its gravity is its guardian. Its strength is its warning." His voice grew softer. "To those who come after us, turn back. The humans don't need weapons. Their world fights for them." Far above, in the human command center, the transmission was intercepted. The room went silent as Reiner's words echoed through the speakers. When it ended, Dr. Carter looked at Marcus. What should we do with this? The general's face was unreadable. Archive it, he said finally. And classify Earth as it always was. He turned toward the main screen, where the blue planet rotated slowly beneath the stars. Restricted. By nature's own design. Back in the valley, lightning flashed one last time. The alien ship lay still, its lights fading, its crew motionless. The humans continued to watch, their expressions a mixture of awe and quiet fear. Cold metallic echoes filled the dim cabin of the Vorn star as the crew staggered from one console to the next, each movement a simple battle against gravity's unrelenting grasp. Captain Reiner watched as Keln, the engineer, leaned heavily on the wall, panting and gripping his ribs. "Sir," Keln gasped, "our exofield braces are showing stress fractures. The amplifiers are working, but the structural load is too great." Reiner's chest burned under his suit's pressure belt, and he pressed a hand to his helmet glass. Outside, the storm had subsided, but the world beyond their viewport looked alien. Trees bent low under weight unseen, the sky heavy and thick, the ground itself sagging as though it bore and dispelled a continuous strain. "We can't keep this up," Drell whispered, voice strained, as he assisted Lerna, her body curled, motionless in the medical bay. "Her skeleton is deformed. The braces hold, but internal microfractures keep multiplying." Reiner closed his eyes briefly, the memory of Lerna's failing voice fresh. "This world isn't meant for us," she'd said, and she had been right. The crew had arrived to conquer, now they were living just to last. He turned sharply. "Keln, status on engines?" Keln's glance faltered. "Captain, the main thrusters are offline. Secondary systems engaged, but they draw too much power and our gravity dampeners keep flickering. We won't launch until we rebuild, or until the pressure field drops." Reiner's jaw tightened. Any hope of escape seemed distant. He paced the cabin, each step like lifting a mountain. Then he stopped. "What if we stay?" he asked quietly. "What if instead of leaving, we adapt in place? Study the planet, find a weak point, then escape?" Drell shook his head. "Adapt? We're dying just standing. My scans show bone density loss at double previous rates. Weeks here. Maybe minutes at this rate." The engineer glanced up. "Captain, I've been analyzing the hull sensors against the external cameras. There are anomalies. The ground beneath our ship seems to shift slightly. Like the planet breathes. The valley floor is sinking." Reiner stepped to the wall and placed his palm on the cold metal. He felt nothing, but somehow he knew the Earth beyond did feel something. Outside, the human drone hovered high above the site again, its sensors silent, its cameras watching. But undetected, the crew of the Vorn star made a discovery. Lerna's biological samples, collected in a brief moment of clarity just after landing, revealed something no one expected. Earth's surface rocks were enriched with a strange mineral formation, an ultra-dense lattice that interacted with the planet's gravity field. The soil cores Keln had pulled earlier were key. "Captain," Lerna rasped, "this stuff, it binds with gravitational waves. It amplifies the pull." Her voice faded. She closed her eyes. Reiner stared at the readout. The samples glowed faintly on the scanner. "So the planet's gravity isn't just its mass," he murmured. "It's enhanced. Engineered." Drell looked away. "Then this planet is a trap." The words hung heavy in the cabin. Reiner sat down hard in the command chair, head bowed. "We came to document life, to learn about humans, to map their world. Instead we uncovered their defense. Their planet fights for them." Keln's voice was quiet but urgent. "Captain, I traced power drain logs again. The exofield amplifiers kicked in just as the gravity spiked. The planet sensed our technology. It reacted. Every time we ran the support systems, the gravity field tightened." Reiner stared out the viewport at the forested hills. The layer of clouds thinned, revealing the vast expanse of this world, and in the distance, human silhouettes standing still, hidden in the twilight. The captain's hand gripped the armrest. "If we cannot rely on our tech, We rely on survival. We adapt our bodies. We modify the suits to integrate with this planet's field. We change the rules. Drell closed his eyes tightly. That's suicide, Captain. But desperation drove them. The life support countdown flickered on the console. 2 hours, 53 minutes. Keln and Drell worked feverishly, modifying exo-frame joints, increasing support struts, rerouting power through the ship's hull to create a local gravity pocket inside. Reiner oversaw, his voice steady but quiet. Outside, the planet watched. Weather patterns shifted, gusts of wind rolled over the valley floor, leaves stirred in invisible breezes, the ground beneath rocked slowly. The humans held their vigil, knowing the show. The Vornaxians rebuilt. They were fighting a war they never declared. In the medical bay, Lerna stirred. She opened her eyes slowly, her ribs still fractured, but for the first time she attempted to stand. With Keln's help, she rose. Her bones crackled, small fractures, microshifts, but she stood. Reiner exhaled. We may survive, he said softly. But we'll never leave as who we were. The revelation hit them all. Survival would come at a cost. Their bodies would be altered, their pride broken, their mission rewritten. They were no longer explorers on equal ground. They were something else. Subjects of a planet's test. Then a new alert sounded, external sensors, unidentified surface vehicle approaching. The crew froze. Outside, through the thick glass, human figures approached, even now, moving the twisted terrain easily. Their gait was strong, steady, unaffected. One human reached the ship, touched the hull. The sensors registered no pressure change. The Vornaxians stared in disbelief. Here was life built for this gravity. Here was evolution shaped by crushing weight. Reiner's heart sank. They live here, he whispered. They are born into this. The human turned, looked at them, a glance devoid of fear or surprise, and walked away. No weapon drawn, no signal sent. Just a silent message. Keln closed the software window. Captain, we still have the relay to orbit. I modified the antenna to boost signal, but we'll need 30 minutes of full power. Standing here, we'll burn out first. Reiner nodded. Then do it. We transmit. If nothing else, the galaxy will know the truth. Drell stood by Lerna's bed. Captain, data on skeletal damage, it's advanced. We may leave alive, but we'll carry forever the scars. Our species will know what happened here. Reiner touched Lerna's hand. We came to inspire our kind. We'll return to warn them. Earth is not a prize, it is a sentence. Outside, lightning split the sky, illuminating the valley. The drone withdrew into the clouds. The human observers paused their monitors. General Marcus leaned back in his chair. They're adapting, he said quietly. Give them a little more time. They may surprise us. Dr. Carter frowned at the screens. If they succeed, she said softly, then Earth's warning will no longer be enough. In the Vorn Star's cabin, lights flickered. The modded antenna powered up, the thrusters hummed quietly, the braces locked. The crew moved toward the ramp. Reiner stood last. He looked at his team, scarred, changed, breathing heavily. We go now, he said. But we leave different. The ramp opened. The ground outside still pulled at them. The stopgap modifications held, just barely. 1 step forward. 2. Keln's leg wobbled, but his brace held. Drell's frame groaned, but stood. Reiner exhaled as the ship's engines ignited. The valley trembled under the blast. The earth responded as though wounded, a roar of wind, a rumble deep in the crust, and then stillness. The Vorn Star lifted slowly, painfully, leaving scars in the valley floor. The humans watched silently. The Vorn Star rose through the storm clouds like a wounded beast, its hull trembling under the crushing pull of Earth's gravity. Inside, alarms blared and red lights flickered across every panel. The air was thick, filled with heat and panic. Captain Reiner gripped the armrests of his chair, his muscles straining. Keep the thrusters stable, he shouted over the roar. Keln's hands moved rapidly across the controls, his eyes darting from one failing system to another. Stabilizers are losing power. Gravity dampeners at 40% and dropping fast. Reiner's jaw tightened. We're not going back down there. Push the engines. The ship shook violently as if the planet itself was trying to pull them back. The sound of metal bending filled the air. It's fighting us, Drell said, his voice trembling. The planet, it's fighting back. Outside, lightning tore through the clouds, wrapping the ship in a cage of light. The engines screamed as Keln rerouted emergency power. If we go any higher, the core will overheat, he yelled. Reiner slammed a fist on the console. Then let it burn. We're not dying on that cursed rock. The ship climbed another few hundred meters before a sudden jolt threw everyone against their seats. The main screen flickered and went dark. Sparks rained from the ceiling. Lerna cried out from the medical bay. Captain, the hull is fracturing near the port side. Reiner turned sharply. Seal that section. Now. The automated doors hissed shut, but the ship groaned again, louder this time. A deep rumble echoed through the walls, like the growl of a giant beneath them. Then, for a brief moment, everything went silent. The shaking stopped, the alarms quieted, and the ship seemed to float freely. Keln looked up in disbelief. Did we break free? Reiner didn't answer. He stared at the radar screen, which flickered weakly before showing a new reading, something massive rising from the clouds below. No, he said slowly. It's not over. The next second, a shockwave slammed into the ship, spinning it sideways. Everyone screamed as gravity twisted violently. Panels shattered. Tools and debris floated, then crashed to the floor again as the stabilizers flickered on and off. What was that? Drell shouted. Keln's voice cracked. The storm, no, it's the atmosphere. The pressure's increasing, it's pushing us down. Reiner's mind raced. He remembered Lerna's earlier discovery. The planet's minerals amplified gravitational fields. The atmosphere itself could be reacting to their energy output. The planet's alive, he whispered. It senses us. It's rejecting us. Outside, thick clouds churned like a living ocean, lightning flashing in rhythmic pulses. It looked deliberate, almost intelligent. Reroute power to the main thrusters. Reiner ordered. All of it. Keln hesitated. That'll burn the core, Captain. Do it anyway. Reiner shouted. Keln's fingers flew over the console. The engines roared louder, the entire ship vibrating like it would tear apart at any moment. The heat rose. Warning lights turned crimson. The artificial gravity wavered again, throwing Drell to the floor. Inside the human command center deep below Earth's surface, alarms also sounded. Sir, the alien vessel is breaching cloud level, a technician reported. General Marcus leaned forward. Can they make orbit? Dr. Carter shook her head as she watched the data scroll. Not likely. Their ship isn't designed for Earth's gravitational resistance. The closer they get to freedom, the harder it pulls. Marcus folded his arms. Then nature will finish what we started. But Carter's brow furrowed. Sir, something's strange. The gravitational readings are spiking unnaturally. It's like the planet is responding to their thrust output. Marcus gave her a sharp look. Are you saying Earth is fighting back? No, she replied slowly. I'm saying it's adapting. Back in the skies, the Vorn star shuddered as bolts of energy ripped through its hull. The crew screamed as the artificial gravity failed completely. Tools, weapons, and fragments of the ship floated around them. Reiner's chair lifted off the floor. Emergency stabilizers, he yelled. Keln tried to reach the console but drifted helplessly. They're offline. We're losing control. Then, as if in response, the ship suddenly dropped, pulled downward by an invisible hand. The stars above vanished, swallowed by darkness. Brace! Reiner shouted. The ship plunged through layers of air, fire streaking across the windows. Inside the cockpit, the world became a blur of light and motion. Lerna's weak voice came through the intercom. "Captain, the medical bay's collapsing. We can't hold much longer." Reiner's eyes darted across the flickering controls. "No," he muttered. "Not after everything. We're getting off this planet." He activated the emergency fuel reserve, a last resort meant only for escape pods. The ship's engines roared back to life, flames burning brighter than before. "This is going to melt the core," Keln shouted. "Then it melts," Reiner yelled back. "I'd rather burn in space than die on that ground." The Vorn star shot upward again, cutting through the storm like a blazing comet. The gravitational drag fought to pull it back, but the engines screamed in defiance. Altitude increasing, Drell gasped. "We're climbing." The crew cheered weakly, but Reiner's instincts told him it wasn't over. The radar showed turbulence patterns forming ahead, massive waves of atmospheric distortion unlike anything natural. "Hold steady," he ordered. "We're not through yet." The ship pushed higher. The stars reappeared, faint but visible. The gravitational pull began to ease. Hope flickered in Reiner's chest. Then the ship lurched again. A deafening crack echoed through the hull. "Core breach detected," Keln shouted. The warning lights turned white. Below them, the storm clouds began to spin like a whirlpool, forming a spiral that stretched for miles. From orbit, it looked like the planet itself was opening an eye. "Captain," Drell said weakly, "it's pulling us again." Reiner's knuckles turned white on the controls. "No. We're almost free." He slammed the throttle forward. The engines roared one last time, and the ship surged upward. For a single glorious moment, the stars seemed close enough to touch. Then the power failed. The ship froze mid-ascent, engines sputtering. The silence was deafening. Gravity reclaimed its prize. The Vorn star fell. It plunged back through the clouds, flames trailing behind it. Inside, the crew clung to anything they could reach. Lerna's screams echoed through the cabin. Keln prayed under his breath. Reiner refused to let go of the controls. "Not like this," he muttered. "Not like this." But the planet had other plans. The ship struck the lower atmosphere with a thunderous boom. Pieces of its hull tore away, scattering across the sky. The valley below lit up like dawn as fragments rained down. Inside Project Sentinel, Marcus and Carter watched the descent on their screens. "Impact confirmed," a technician said softly. "The ship didn't make it." Marcus nodded once. "Then Earth has spoken." But Dr. Carter didn't look away from the monitors. "No," she whispered. "Look." On the edge of the crater, amid the fire and smoke, a faint blue light still flickered. Something inside the wreckage was moving. Against the weight of Earth, against the will of gravity itself, something from the Vorn star was still alive. Smoke rose like black ghosts over the shattered valley. The wreckage of the Vorn star lay scattered across miles of scorched earth, its once sleek hull now twisted into jagged metal and glowing embers. Rain began to fall again, hissing as it met the burning ground. For a long time, there was only silence, broken by the soft crackle of fire and the distant rumble of thunder. Then, from beneath a collapsed section of the hull, a faint metallic clang echoed. Something was moving. The sound grew louder, then a weak beam of light cut through the smoke. A hand, thin, trembling, covered in burns, pushed through the rubble. Captain Reiner gasped for air as he crawled out of the debris, his suit half melted and his visor cracked. He coughed violently, each breath sharp and painful. "Keln. Drell," he rasped, voice barely more than a whisper. No answer came. Only the endless rain. Reiner staggered to his feet, his body shaking under the crushing gravity. Every step felt like wading through wet cement. He looked around, the ship's remains were scattered like bones of a fallen giant. "Anyone?" he shouted weakly. A groan answered him. From the smoke, Keln appeared, dragging his injured leg, one of his exobraces shattered. "Captain," he coughed. Still, alive. Relief flickered across Reiner's tired face. He stumbled forward, helping Keln stay upright. We need to find cover. The storm will worsen. Together, they limped toward a small section of the ship that had survived the crash, a half-buried control module still humming with faint power. Inside, it was dark, except for the flickering lights of damaged screens. The air smelled of burning metal and leaking coolant. Drell lay unconscious against the far wall, his breathing shallow but steady. Lerna was nowhere in sight. Check life signs, Reiner ordered. Keln struggled to operate the damaged scanner. Minimal power left. Systems fried. We can't stay here long. Reiner leaned heavily against the wall, every muscle aching. How far did we fall? Keln looked out through a cracked viewport. Far enough to bury us. Outside, the valley looked different now. Wider, deeper. The impact had carved a massive crater, and in the distance, shadows moved among the smoke. Reiner's blood ran cold. They're watching again. Keln followed his gaze. Human figures, small and indistinct, stood at the crater's rim, backlit by the storm. Maybe they'll help, Keln said weakly. Reiner shook his head. No. They're waiting. He remembered the human he'd seen earlier before takeoff. The calm eyes, the steady posture, the way gravity seemed to serve him instead of fight him. They want to see if we'll die on our own. Keln swallowed hard. Then we don't give them the satisfaction. Hours passed. The rain thickened, drumming against the hull. Drell regained consciousness, coughing hard. Captain, what happened? Reiner helped him sit up. We fell. Again. Drell let out a bitter laugh that turned into another cough. This planet, it doesn't let go. Reiner didn't respond. He was staring at the monitors, watching strange readings appear on the sensors. The energy around us, it's stabilizing, he said. The gravity here is still strong, but something changed after the crash. It's different. Keln frowned. Different how? It feels localized, Reiner answered. Like the planet is watching closer now, focusing on us. Far above, in Project Sentinel's control center, General Marcus stood before a holographic display showing the crater. Confirmed survivors, a technician reported. 3 life signs detected. Marcus nodded slowly. They're persistent, I'll give them that. Dr. Carter turned from her screen. Sir, the readings from the impact zone are unusual. The gravitational field there has altered, temporarily reduced. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Reduced? Earth easing up. It's as if the planet is observing them, she said. Testing something. Marcus didn't like the sound of that. Keep monitoring. If they try to rebuild, we'll know. Back at the crash site, Reiner and his crew worked in silence. They scavenged what they could from the wreck, the emergency rations, power cells, medical kits, and a half-functional drone. If we can get this drone online, Keln said, we can map the area. Maybe find a signal relay. Drell shook his head. What's the point? Even if we send a signal, no one will reach us in time. Reiner placed a hand on Drell's shoulder. Then we send a warning. Someone must know what this planet truly is. His eyes burned with determination. We can still complete the mission. We were sent to study humanity, and now we've seen their greatest weapon. Keln finally got the drone working. It lifted shakily into the air, its camera flickering. The feed appeared on the cracked console, images of the crater, the scattered wreckage, the distant forest. Then, movement. A group of human soldiers, wearing adaptive suits, approached cautiously. They carried no visible weapons, but their formation was disciplined, precise. They're coming, Drell said tensely. Reiner watched in silence. Do not engage, he ordered. We observe. The drone zoomed in closer. One of the humans raised a hand and touched something on his wrist. The drone's feed suddenly cut out. The screen went black. They disabled it, Keln said softly. Reiner's heart pounded. They don't want us to see them. They're controlling what we know. He clenched his fist. They're not just surviving this planet, they're one with it. Drell's voice trembled. Captain, what if the humans didn't just adapt to gravity? What if they made it stronger, to keep outsiders out? The thought sent a chill through all of them. Reiner turned toward the viewport again, rain sliding down the glass. Then we're not on a planet, he said. We're inside their defense system. That night, the crew rested in shifts, their bodies broken and their minds restless. Reiner couldn't sleep. The planet seemed alive, breathing, watching. The hum of the earth beneath him felt rhythmic, like a heartbeat. He walked outside into the rain, his boots sinking into the mud. He looked up at the sky, where lightning illuminated the clouds. You warned us, he said quietly. And we didn't listen. Behind him, Keln limped out of the wreck. Talking to the sky now, Captain? He asked with a weak smile. Reiner didn't answer. His eyes were fixed on something far away, a flicker of blue light on the horizon. The light pulsed, slow and steady, like a signal. Do you see that? Keln asked. Yes, Reiner said. It's not natural. Could it be humans? Keln asked. No, Reiner replied. It's something else. The light flashed again, this time brighter. Maybe, Reiner whispered, the planet isn't done with us yet. Far above, in Project Sentinel, the same blue pulse appeared on their monitors. Sir, Dr. Carter said, there's a new energy source near the crash site. Unknown origin. Marcus frowned. Is it from their ship? No, she replied. It's coming from the ground. Marcus leaned forward, eyes narrowing. Then it's not just them we should be watching. Maybe Earth has decided to talk back. Back in the valley, the rain stopped suddenly. The wind died. The silence was complete. Reiner looked around, his pulse racing. Something's changing, he whispered. The ground beneath him vibrated gently, like the planet had taken a breath. And then, from deep within the earth, a voice, soft, distant, ancient, seemed to whisper through the storm. No words, just a feeling. A warning renewed. Reiner fell to his knees, the weight of it pressing on his soul. He looked up at the sky, eyes wide. It's awake, he said. The valley was silent after the storm, its air heavy and still as if the world itself was holding its breath. The wreckage of the Vorn star lay cold and broken, half buried in mud, smoke rising from its fractured hull. The survivors, Reiner, Keln, and Drell, stood outside the remains of their ship, staring at the faint blue glow pulsing across the crater floor. It wasn't light from their vessel or from human machines. It came from the ground itself, alive, rhythmic, deliberate. It's moving, Drell whispered. Like veins under skin. Reiner crouched down, watching the glow spread across the soil in branching lines. No, he said quietly. Not moving, communicating. The lines pulsed faster, converging toward the center of the crater, forming symbols the aliens couldn't read but instinctively understood. A message, a judgment, or perhaps both. Keln's breathing grew shallow. Captain, what if it's not the planet? What if it's them, the humans? Reiner shook his head slowly. This isn't human technology. It's too old. Too vast. He placed his gloved hand on the glowing earth. The moment he did, his suit's sensors went wild. Readings spiked in every direction, magnetic fields, gravity fluctuations, energy surges. It's everywhere, he said. The whole planet is connected. Suddenly, his comms buzzed with static. A faint voice broke through, echoing like it came from miles away. You were warned. The words were slow, distorted, but unmistakably human. Keln stumbled backward. Captain, that's impossible. There's no signal out here. Reiner stood, scanning the horizon. They're not transmitting through the air, he said grimly. They're using the planet itself. Up in the Project Sentinel command center, General Marcus and Dr. Carter watched the same blue light appear on their screens. What are we seeing? Marcus asked. Carter's face was pale. It's spreading, she said softly. Every seismograph, every satellite, Earth's energy patterns are syncing. It's like the planet's heartbeat just changed rhythm. Marcus frowned. Is it reacting to them? Maybe not reacting, she said, maybe deciding. He turned to the technicians. Keep recording. If Earth has chosen to speak, we'll be the first to listen. Down in the crater, Reiner and his crew backed away from the glowing patterns as they shifted, forming a circle around them. The light intensified, bathing everything in a strange, calm blue. What's happening? Drell whispered. Reiner's voice was low. It's reading us. The gravity around them fluctuated, one moment crushingly heavy, the next light as air. Keln fell to his knees, clutching his chest. It's inside my head, he cried. Reiner felt it too, a deep presence, vast and ancient, pressing into his thoughts. Images flashed before his eyes, oceans forming, mountains rising, fire and chaos, creatures crawling from the sea. Then, humans. He saw them evolve, struggle, adapt, build, survive. The planet's story played inside his mind, a history not told in words but in sensation and memory. When the visions faded, he fell to the ground, gasping. It showed me, he whispered. It showed me why. Keln's voice trembled. Why what? Reiner looked up, his eyes wide. Why we can't stay. Why no one can. Earth doesn't belong to anyone, it belongs to itself. Drell stared at him, terrified. Captain, we need to leave. Whatever this is, it's not communication, it's a warning. The blue light suddenly flared, bright enough to blind them. Their suits' visors darkened automatically, and still the brightness seared through. When it faded, a shape stood before them. It wasn't human, not fully, but not alien either. A tall figure of light and soil, eyes burning like molten rock, its form flickering as if it were part of the storm itself. It spoke in a voice that rumbled through the ground. You were told not to come. Reiner staggered back. Who are you? The figure tilted its head. I am what you call Earth. The mind beneath your feet. The memory of what was built here. Keln's voice was shaking. You're alive. The being's tone was calm, almost sorrowful. Alive, yes. Aware, always. Your kind thought this world was open, waiting. You called it primitive, soft. But this place remembers every fall, every scar, every weight. It was shaped by struggle, and that struggle is my law. Reiner swallowed hard. We didn't come to conquer. We came to learn. The figure stepped closer. The ground trembled with each movement. Learning requires respect. You came with arrogance. Drell fell to his knees. We're sorry, he said weakly. We didn't know. The being's glowing eyes flickered. You were warned. The blue light pulsed again, wrapping around the survivors. Their suits sparked as systems overloaded. Wait. Reiner shouted. If you destroy us, no one will learn the lesson. Let us tell the others what we've seen. The light dimmed slightly, as though the entity was considering. Then it spoke again. Then you will carry it. But understand this, your bones will remember me. Your world will never forget the weight of mine. A surge of energy shot through the ground, lifting the survivors into the air for a moment before dropping them gently back down. Their suits flickered, then powered up again, somehow recharged. The blue glow faded slowly until only darkness remained. The voice was gone, but the presence lingered, deep and silent. Keln groaned, touching his helmet. Did that really happen? Drell's eyes were wide. I don't know. Reiner stood, staring at the ground. Yes, he said quietly. It happened. And now we have to live with it. Hours later, they managed to restart a small escape pod from the wreck. Its systems barely functioned, but it was enough to send a message. Reiner recorded the transmission himself, his voice steady despite the pain. This is Captain Reiner of the Vorn Star. To any who hear this, Earth is not what we thought. It is not a world to visit. It is a living intelligence, a guardian of balance. Its gravity is not just mass. It is judgment. It remembers every trespass. We ignored the warnings, and it punished us. Do not make the same mistake. He paused, his voice softening. And to the humans who live there, you are not just survivors. You are chosen. This world made you strong enough to stand where no one else can. He ended the recording and sent it to orbit. The pod's engines ignited weakly, rising through the smoky air. Below, the valley glowed faintly once more, a pulse like a heartbeat fading back into the earth. Reiner looked down from the viewport, watching the crater shrink beneath them. "Goodbye," he whispered. "And thank you." Keln managed a weak smile. "We'll never forget this place." Drell looked out the window in silence. "No one will believe us," he said. Reiner nodded. "They don't need to. The warning will speak for itself." As the pod broke through the clouds, the light of the sun washed over them. For the first time since their arrival, the sky seemed calm. But deep below, the planet stirred once more, its slow pulse returning to normal. In Project Sentinel's command center, the readings stabilized. Dr. Carter watched the data fade from her screen. "It's over," she said. General Marcus looked out at the monitor showing the empty crater. "No," he replied. "It's just beginning." Far above, the escape pod drifted into space, its signal carrying the story of a world that could not be conquered, a world alive, aware, and endlessly patient. The Earth turned below, silent and steady, guarding its secret once again. And in the endless dark between stars, the warning echoed through the void. Respect the gravity, or be broken by it.